people! What's up, everybody? I am back. It is time to continue our chat. I did watch Event Horizon last night, actually, like I said I was going to. And, my review on it, before we get back to what we were talking about, my review on it was, it was fine. It started off really promisingly, but then I had some doubts in my mind as soon as I started hearing the late 90s techno music as the intro to the film, and we were getting all these credits up front. Never like credits in the front of a film. I think it really takes you out of it. I prefer the credits at the end. And I was like, okay. And then the setup and so on was really good. And you had some good actors in there. You had Jodie Richardson, you had Sam Neill, you had Lawrence Fishburne and others. And it looked good. But at that point, I didn't know what was going to happen and what the payoff was going to be. But in the end, it ended up starting really promisingly, and then becoming a bit of a sort of just pretty generic sort of horror movie where it looked pretty cheap in places. I mean, the special effects looked pretty good, to be fair, and the sets looked good. But, I thought it was going to have a deeper meaning to it, but it's pretty standard fare. And, but I want to move on. I'm really into these kind of films that really go out into space or question the very nature of reality, God. There's another, what's out there? But anyway, enough of that. So where were we? We were talking about the power to the people. So I was talking about the fact that, you got these you got a lot of power that has. I talked about the shift of power from people who once controlled everything. I mean, there's a really strange thing here that goes on, because a lot of people talk about globalism and all the rest of it, and it is a thing. I guess what I'm trying to say, I'm just trying to organize my thoughts a bit, but it's never as bad as people say it is. That's one thing. That's something you've got to always take away from life. Things are never as bad as they seem. And often there is a real feeling that, that if X happens, then the world's going to end. Not literally, but figuratively. And it's a lot of that. You see a lot of that in politics, or the sort of overblown hyperbole of Twitter or whatever. And it's never like that. Things are okay normally. There are good and bad. But there was a good line, actually, in Game of Thrones when Varys and Tyrion are having a conversation. And Tyrion says, you think about all the people like living in King's Landing or whatever, most of who don't care who sits on the Iron Throne. But then Varys makes a very good point. It says, these people that we don't know may not care who sits on the Iron Throne, but for millions of them, it really matters who sits on the Iron Throne. So, I mean, they were talking about death or whatever, but in political terms, it is a lot of wrangling left and right. But anyway, that I've gotten off onto a tangent now. But what's really exciting about I'm getting back to this power conversation, is that the world is ours again. It doesn't seem like it. It is a constant war, because when you think about things like, when you think about internet technology or security and so on, I know, because I've seen plenty of it online. I've read plenty of articles, seen many things that show that we are indeed being spied on in many different ways, whether it's your TV, whether it's Alexa, whether it's your phones. That is a power that is concentrated in the hands of a few. See, it's always evolving, the sort of power between the few and the many. And in a weird way, sorry about that, guys. In a weird way, you've got this incredible concentration of power that's evolved over the last, 20 years in terms of social media. You've got your Amazons, your Facebooks, and so on and so forth, which is quite alarming when you think about it. There was a hearing in Washington some time ago, where they had the four main guys: Google, Amazon, whoever the other guys are, the big four, and listening to them answer the questions, they sounded quite robotic, especially the Facebook guy. And when I listened very carefully and I watched pretty much all of it, and I was like, these guys aren't answering any questions. They're saying a lot of answers that lawyers have prepped them for, which means they're hiding something. Now, it isn't necessarily bad what they're hiding. They might be hiding stuff because if they give information, the media will leap on it and they'll be like, oh, you're trying to run the world. Here's the truth. These companies need information. And yes, they are providing free services. And that does mean that you are the product. And as someone who has a YouTube channel and other things, having analytics to know who, where, what, why of people are interested and what's good, what works, what doesn't is invaluable. And it actually ultimately can make the product better for the consumer. If we don't know anything about anything, then how will we ever know? And people want information. Is that bad, really? In of itself, whatever. I've just got up. In and of itself, no. And so you've got to again find that balance. If companies want 30% of 25 to 35s like this thing in our product, but they need to know that. How will they know? And often a lot of the changes and things that make our lives easier have come about from having these companies having this kind of information. So then you get into this point of, well, what difference does it make now if they know not the deep information, which is what they maintain that they have got done, that they don't know your deep information? That's questionable. But they know overall information, like your age or what things you like or whatever. And I think you get to that point where you're like, does it matter? Well, that's a deeper question. But my point that I'm saying is, in one way, these companies have been harvesting information, and there is a way of taking you down, or if not taking you down, isolating you, working out everything you do based on your digital footprint. That's alarming, because that means if someone comes after you, there's a lot out there that can be done. You can protect yourself in many ways, but there is that. But the likelihood, I suppose, of that happening to someone normal walking around the street who, isn't in politics or whatever, or big business or whatever, is probably very low. And so there is that element of it, but there's also another element that these devices and these websites such as Facebook, Twitter, whatever, have created a connection between the people of the world that we've never seen before. People are talking, and for the most part, they're talking freely. There are, ups and downs to that, but for the most part, they're talking freely to each other and exchanging ideas and finding solace in each other and finding other people, like-minded people, which is bringing such unity in a weird way to the world. There is war, there is fighting, there is constant political wranglings. But aside from that, I'm very buoyed by the fact I see such unity out there. A lot of normal thinking people think much the same. We're going to carry on with this in the next video. But for now, I'm going to have some more coffee, and I'll speak to you later. Bye!